Todd Kline here in Southern California on San Vicente. We fished this morning out here. We were throwing the Ima glide bait, caught some fish, saw some followers, and now we're gonna move out a little bit. Sun's high. We're gonna start fishing a little bit deeper. I think I'm gonna try and throw the Ned rig with the little 3-inch Roboworm and oxblood, and also throw a 7-inch Roboworm with the margarita mutilator, Voss weight screwed into it, and fish it neko style and see if we can't pick up some of the deeper fish. There we go, on the neko rig. So, as I mentioned, we're out here at San Vicente. I pulled up on a spot where I was seeing a lot of beds up shallow, but smaller fish. And when you see beds like that, you gotta figure those females, whether they're on those beds or the ones that are staging, have gotta be just outside. So, pulled out just outside and started firing, probably sitting up in 12 feet, but I was casting out to about 20, 25 and working that neko rig, and felt that tick. And you know, it's a nice fish right here. You see the fish that are up shallow right now, and they're that 1 to 2 pound class. That's a nice fish, you know, healthy. That to me looks like a pre-spawn fish, got a nice gut on it. And you know, fishing this neko rig, it gives you time to really fish slow and just stitch it along the bottom. And those big females, they don't want to move far, but they do need to eat before they move up, and or if they're coming off those beds. So that neko rig here, 7-inch margarita mutilator, got a Voss weight in there. I think that's an 1/8 ounce. It's actually a screw weight. So a lot of times when you're fishing the neko rig, those nails will fly out of your worm. Not the case here with this particular one. It's got a screw, basically locks it in there. You're gonna lose the whole setup before you lose your weight. And this is a 2.0 rebarb, very light gauge, you know, hook that basically gives you an opportunity when you're fishing 6-pound tests. You can't wind down and set the hook like you're on a jig. It's a reel and kind of lift as you're reeling into it. It's basically a reel set, and having that light wire hook, it gets you right in there, and you saw it was nicely, you know, hooked right there in the mouth. So when I'm throwing this neko rig, or some may say neko rig, basically I'm gonna fish it when the fish are aggressive in the way you would fish a drop shot. You're gonna have slack in your line. You want that head sitting on the bottom, and then you shake it just very, very small shakes. And what that's gonna do is I've experimented with it in shallow water to kind of see what the action is. It stands up straight like this and literally just goes like this as it slowly scoots along the bottom. And, you know, basically it looks like, I don't know, maybe something eating on the bottom or whatever it is, but, you know, especially here with about a 12-foot visibility, fish can see that from a long distance. They'll come over and check it out. And while you're shaking that thing, every so often you might drag it about 6 feet. One cast will take you, you know, a couple minutes. So fish really, especially some of these bigger fish, they get pressured all the time. You know, drop shots, neko rigs, there is no secrets anymore. And the biggest thing I find, you know, I guide down here when I have clients, people fish too fast, you know. I have them all the time. They're on the boat. They're like, yeah, I've done this technique. Yeah, I've fished this spot. And then they catch some fish, you know, as we slow them down a little bit, and they realize they were fishing too fast. So this type of technique, this time of year, fish are not active yet. They're not up, you know, crashing bait. They're still moving up from the winter time. They're going up to spawn, or they're coming out on the spawn. They're tired, but they do need to eat. And this is a slow finesse approach that gives them an opportunity to look at the bait. They realize, you know what, this thing doesn't look like the one that just went over my head 5 minutes ago. This one looks realistic, and they commit to it. So that's my theory anyway. Hopefully it works for you. It's a giant! Oh! All right, so we lost a couple deep, caught a couple deep, and now we moved up shallow, looking around, just kind of seeing if we're able to see any fish suspended up in the trees. And saw that little guy cruising and pitched in front of it. He swam right out and ate it. Basically just throwing the thin Senko, no weight, and watching them eat it out here. There's another one. He was in a hole. I saw him. He went back in there. I pitched out in front of it. A couple little twitches, let it sink back down, and he ate it. Not a giant, but a decent one. You know, it's fun. Always fun when you're fishing the 6-pound line. This is the thin Senko on the Roboworm rebarb. Light gauge hook, so it's a slow, very finesse approach. But a lot of these lakes out here, there's a lot of pressure, but this works, I don't care where you go. Light line and a thin Senko, it's hard to beat putting fish in the boat. Another maybe 2-pounder. It's kind of cool because you can go down the bank right now and you can see these little pockets within the brush and basically toss the thin Senko over there. And sometimes you can visually actually watch the fish come out and eat it. Other times, if it's a further cast, you just watch your line jump. And then with this 6-pound test, it's a reel set, you know, you reel into it and kind of lean. And with that light gauge hook, you know, especially the way they eat it this time of year, they engulf this thing. So once they got it, it's a reel set. That way you don't break that leader off on a 6-pound. And fun fishing, man. Should be a better fish, I don't know, but usually out here, nope, just a little dude. But so basically an 80 foot of water here, and there's some trees. This time of day, for whatever reason, this time of year in the spring, they like to get up and warm themselves in the sun. You come through with the thin Senko and that real light gauge rebarb hook. It's a super slow finesse fall, and if they're suspended in that tree, they'll usually come out and grab it. A lot of times you can get, you know, nice solid fish in those trees, but hey, there's one, there's got to be more. Let's get them. So the Senko or the thin Senko is a great bait year round, but I really prefer to use it, you know, through the spawn and post spawn, but especially the post spawn. Whether you live, you know, on the East Coast, West Coast, I don't care where you are, fish, once they're done spawning, the post-spawn fish want to get out and relate to some sort of structure. And so a lot of times they'll get up into the tops of these trees, they'll get on docks that have the cables, and sometimes it's 60 foot of water, and you'll fire your bait out there, and that cable, you know, they'll suspend on that cable in, I don't know, 20 foot of water, but the water is 80 foot, so you let that thing soak, and it's going, and all of a sudden you'll watch that line just tick and start going real and get into it. But something you guys might want to try is, you know, in that post-spawn time especially, get out, fish outside the trees, make long casts, and let it sink down next to those trees. And a lot of times you'll pick up some big fish also around those cables and the docks. There we go. Not the big one though. All right, buddy. See that light gauge rebarb there? It's so easy to get it into their upper jaw with not much pressure. So that's the benefit of using that hook on the light line. Just a little dude, but we'll take him. That's a better one. He's in the back. So still in the same area. We've seen some fish cruising the banks, so gives you a little more confidence when you can soak that bait out a little longer. And actually that one was on a slow pull. I kind of do like a 9 o'clock slow drag to 12, and then I'll slowly reel that slack back up to let it fall to the bottom, and felt the thump thump. You know, nothing giant, but still, you know, nice fish. Nice healthy little 2-pounder change on the thin Senko. Thanks guys for tuning in. Hope you guys might have learned a couple things. Remember, in the morning, this time of year in the spring, you can cover water, catch good fish by throwing some reactions. This morning we were throwing the Ima glide bait, and while you're going through those zones, look around, make note, see where those fish are at that come out, maybe don't commit to that bait, and then come back later as that sun gets high and those fish start to sink out of those bushes, and come back through that zone on the bottom with the Ned rig, little 3-inch Robo Ned rig, or the neko rig with the 6 or 7-inch, and also that thin Senko. It's such a slow finesse bait that, you know, they'll see it from a long distance, especially in this clear water, and they'll commit. Like, share, and tag a friend to have an opportunity to win this week's gear giveaway. We'll see you guys on the water.